let's move on to main topic number 2. In the second main topic, we are discussing there's another bill coming out this November that should be more controversial than it is, especially for entrepreneurs, but it's not. And it's probably not because it's coming from a company, or not coming from a company, but it's supported by a company that most people have not quite figured out you should not be trusting this company yet. And it is a consumer protection bill that would be there to protect the consumers from bad actors on the internet. And one of its biggest supporters is Amazon. A company who, look, for all of the things that I complain about Amazon is really good if you are a customer. You have an issue with an order Amazon, they will fix it for you. I remember when I used to buy from Amazon, I bought a few CDs. Yes, CDs. And I still buy CDs for the record, but not quite as many. And I think it was like Toby Keith and a couple soundtracks, if I remember correctly. Like this. So, and I'm being this specific because stories like this kind of highlight why people are loyal to Amazon. I remember coming home one day, and it was on the door, the package, but it was opened, and the CDs had been taken out. Someone had seen that there was a package lying at the door and decided just to open the package and take this stuff inside. Why this doesn't happen more often, I'm actually kind of surprised. It's very easy to steal Amazon packages. I'm not encouraging you do, by the way. I'm just saying it's easy. Now then, I didn't think anything was going to happen, but I went inside and I emailed Amazon and I explained, hey, this is what happened. Amazon didn't even ask to see a picture or anything. They just sent me new CDs. A day or two later, I had the replacement CDs. And at that point, I said, I will be an Amazon customer for life. Which, you know, a good thing I didn't pinky swear that, because that didn't end up being true. So Amazon is very good about protecting their customers. Which does make you wonder, why would they then be supporting a bill that would, you know, basically hold online sellers and e-commerce more accountable for their ethics, when Amazon actually does not need to be prodded in this one particular area. And well, as Etsy's CEO is claiming, it's because this consumer protection bill can actually be used as a tool to wipe out competitors. And by the way, I should note the Shopify COO has said very similar things about this bill, but we're going to focus on this article. So, Amazon came under fire Tuesday from Etsy CEO Josh Silverman, who alleged in a blog post that the company was trying to turn a proposed California consumer protection bill into a wolf in sheep's clothing that would stifle competition. He said, Amazon is taking bold steps to wipe out its competitors by promoting complex, hard-to-comply with legislation that only they can afford to absorb. Amazon's goal is to be the only place to buy stuff online. Amazon did not respond to Business Insider's request for comment. In California, lawmakers are expected to vote this week on it's always California. It's always California. AB 3262, a bill that would make online marketplaces liable for defective products sold on their site by third parties, like brick and mortar stores, and most retailers are already, which would be the first such law in the U.S. The original version of the bill exempted online sales of auctioned and handmade goods, as well as classified ad sites, meaning most products sold on marketplaces like Etsy, eBay, and Craigslist. But on Monday, days after Amazon said in a blog post that it would support a version of the bill that applied to all online marketplaces, lawmakers amended AB 3262 to do exactly that. Silverman accused Amazon of working back channels to redirect this legislation to their advantage by lobbying lawmakers to extend its scope to all stores, which he said would harm smaller marketplaces who don't have the resources to comply with its complicated provisions, as well as small business and consumers onto whom smaller marketplaces would likely pass off those new costs. While AB 3262 will be an inconvenience to the e-commerce behemoth, it could be crushing to smaller e-commerce players. That is an abuse of market power play, he added, noting recent criticism of Amazon's potentially anti-competitive behavior from lawmakers, third-party sellers, and startups the company has invested in. Injured customers, this is still a quote, should be able to see compensation regardless of how a particular online marketplace makes money, Amazon head of public policy Brian Huseman argued in the Friday blog post. For AB 3262 to be successful, lasting, and meaningful law, it cannot leave open loopholes for some marketplaces to escape accountability. Now, there's another reason Amazon is doing this. I'm going to pause right here because Amazon recently was found guilty of selling defective merchandise to a consumer. Now, Amazon's argument was that it was a third-party marketplace. So they should have no, hey, they're not in control of that. That is a third-party seller. So we don't have anything to do with it. But it was successfully argued that Amazon hosts the store, vet the stores, and by the way, even handle A to Z claims sometimes before a compromise can even be reached with the seller. And so a judge determined that, yes, Amazon was responsible for this. And that is definitely something that could be bad for the Amazon seller marketplace. But so I don't even know if the marketplace is going to last that much longer on Amazon. But here's probably what Amazon was thinking right now. Now there's this bill because they want to take these protections and spread it out to these other things. What if we can say, hey, everyone's got to follow these rules? And then everyone, as this person points out correctly, can't absorb these costs. I think if it's a third-party marketplace seller, with all due respect, I think the main market players do need to stay out of it. I think that they need to have a hands-off approach that, hey, if there's so many complaints, you can actually, test it and they are legitimate complaints. And yeah, maybe that person can be kicked off. But for the most part, Amazon, eBay, they don't get involved in the disputes. For the most part, I actually believe that. I even have issues with the PayPal claims, where people go to PayPal and they say, "Oh, hey, we didn't like the color of the shirt, so we want our money back." I think that if you are going to be in a small business on eBay, Amazon, or whatever, you need to have an LLC, and there needs to be a venue with which you can talk to them off the site. That's just me personally, but. There you go. So again, online goods like Craigslist and stuff were not accounted for, which is why it's very dangerous to buy on sites like Craigslist. Now, here's the thing. Amazon has successfully evaded legal liability for dangerous and defective products for years, but a California court ruled earlier this month that the retail giant should be on the hook after a woman alleged she was severely burned when a replacement laptop battery she purchased on Amazon exploded. Amazon argued in the case that it wasn't liable because it did not distribute, manufacture, or sell the product, which was sold by a third-party seller, but the court disagreed. Whatever term we use to describe Amazon's role, be it retailer, distributor, or merely facilitator, it was pivotal in bringing the product here to the consumer, the judge said in the case concluded. In recent years, more pressure has mounted on lawmakers and regulators to hold online marketplaces and tech platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, Uber, and Lyft, and Airbnb accountable for how third parties behave while using their services. So the funny thing is this could actually also affect Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Postmates. It could affect all of it. So yeah, leave it up to California to just completely, try to change things. Like Etsy, smaller companies have pushed back on similar regulatory efforts by arguing that they would ultimately be hurt, while the intended targets, large incumbents with massive legal teams and deep pockets, would be more able to adopt or absorb legal penalties for violating the law.
Sundays in your apartment away from your team are...
Sorry, folks. That was unexpected. But anyway, so... Yeah, I've got mixed feelings about this because I do understand where the lawmakers are coming from in this case. Hey, This is they're using your site. You are controlling the sellers, therefore you have a certain amount of liability. I mean, it's kind of like the Uber and Lyft thing. I mean, if Etsy and Amazon and eBay want to truly say like, hey, we're not responsible for this stuff, they have to take as much of a hands-off approach as possible. That means they don't change rates, they don't change fees, they don't cap shipping costs, they just don't get involved. Which some people say, well, that would be like a nightmare, and it's like, well, yeah, but you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't say like, hey, I want to be free on eBay and Uber. I want to be an independent contractor, but by the way, I still expect you to do the background checks and control these things. No, you can't do that. It has to be either completely hands off or completely hands off. So that's my thought. At the same time, I do not deny that having accountability would not be a good thing because there are some people who are very crafty about how they steal from people. And, you have situations, particularly whenever a new game console comes out, like, hey, I am auctioning off a picture of the Xbox Series X. And this auction will get hundreds of dollars in bids, and then they get a picture of an Xbox Series X. Now, was the description accurate? Yes, but was it ethical? Probably not. So you have situations like that, and it happens all the time, and there should be some accountability against sellers like that. But now it is showing because Amazon swooped in, they requested their little change, and you do have to ask yourself, why are they making this request? It's because they probably know, and Amazon loses money. That's their whole business model, is to lose money. Most people, they're in the business of making money. Amazon's not. And yet somehow they do it. Well, they do, but they don't. Anyway, they know, hey, you know what? We could drown them in these fees. If there's defective merchandise, we can just absorb this cost and they can't. And that is one more way we can beat them. So they're shifty. They're really shifty. But I do have to ask a question. What do you think about this? Do you agree with California? Do you think this should pass, or do you not agree? Do you think this shouldn't pass? I would love to know. Comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe. As always, flame responsibly.